Now I would like to introduce Kyle Hjelmeseth. He's the CEO and the founder of GNB Digital Management. He's based in US, so for the first time at Influencer Marketing Conference, we have a US speaker. Welcome, Kyle, and thank you very much for being with us
Thank
today.
you for having me. I'm so excited to be here and to be in front of your audience and to meet you, Christian. So thank you for making the time, having me here.
First of all, tell us a little bit more about your talent management agency, about GMB Digital Management.
Yeah, of course. So I own one of the largest independent talent management firms in the United States called GMB Digital Management. We've been in business. I've been working with influencer talent since 2013, 2014. And then we founded the firm in 2015. So we're one of the oldest firms that deals with digital talent or influencers. We have over 100 talent that we manage today across the United States. And primarily, and then we have a couple that are actually in Europe as well, which is very cool. And then I would say we've got about 20 full-time staff, which isn't too big, but I mean, we work with major brands, all the brands from Chanel to Target and Walmart. So it's a very large difference between brands that we can work with, high-end luxury or an everyday brand like Target or Walmart here.
Considering your experience with brands, you mentioned you work with a lot of brands, but also with influencers because you manage the influencers, something like 100 influencers, I recall. What are the first steps to consider as a brand when you start influencer marketing program?
So influencer marketing is all about connecting with the consumer in a different way. I think of it like getting a recommendation from a friend, but now you're following, lots of friends, and an influencer could have a community of 100,000 people, 500,000, a million. But some influencers are very small. Maybe their community is only 2,000. So it's really finding the first step is actually finding somebody who you feel like your product fits with. Who is your consumer? A brand needs to understand who they're trying to sell to, who they want, their product in front of. And once they can create a very clear picture of what that person looks like, they can start to look for influencers who match that profile on social media, whether it's Instagram or YouTube or TikTok. You can find people that really match your customer, your perfect customer, but you have to know who your perfect customer is. What do they do? What are their shopping habits? How do they live their lives? So that you can find the appropriate influencer to match up with for marketing purposes.
But is it suitable for any brand? I mean, does it work for any kind of brand? This influencer marketing we are talking about every day and all over the social media and the media.
That's a great question. And in my opinion, I think that influencer marketing works for every brand. And, just to kind of talk a little bit for a second about the evolution of influencer marketing, when influencer marketing really took off, what made it so popular were things that we can make decisions on every day. And what I mean by that is most influencers at the beginning of the industry were fashion influencers because you can decide what you're going to wear every day, or food because you're going to think about what you eat, or beauty, right? And skin and hair and things like that, which I don't have. But influencers really, right, started with all of these different things like food and fashion because you can make decisions about those things every day. Today, we see influencers in every type of arena. You could have a watch influencer, somebody who's got the best collection of watches. And so people that like me, I love watches, so I'm going to follow, the best watch influencers, or cars, or travel, or gaming, any type of thing that you want to talk about. Somebody wants to talk about art, for example, they can find a community that wants to actually see what they're doing, hear their opinions, get their expertise online, and so they become an influencer. So you could really have influencers for every different aspect of life.
But do you think there are some industry sectors, business sectors that are more suitable for influencer marketing, or for which influencer marketing works better? I
Yeah,
mean,
I think that there's a lot of change happening. Like I said, you could have an influencer for watches, but that's a very new arena for influencers. There's not that many influencers out there who talk about watches, so it's very specialized. So you can work, it takes more time to find the right person who's going to speak about watches, where it's much easier to find influencers who can speak about clothing, because again, we are all wearing clothing every day. If I'm trying to sell, my particular style of clothing, I can find lots of people who want to talk about how they would style my jacket or hat or anything like that. There's a lot more people that can talk about fashion and what they wear or what they eat or the beauty products they use. So for brands, it's easier if the brand is a fashion company, a beauty company, some of the everyday items. And then influencer marketing still works for watch brands or smaller, more niche types of products or categories, but it just takes more work to find the right representative.
We are in the social media era. We see every day new apps, new social media platforms launch everywhere in the world. So there are so many platforms today. I was wondering, and I wanted to ask you, which are the most important social media platforms for influencers in US right now?
Right now in the United States, the top three, platforms for influencers are TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. There's a lot of, as you said, there's a lot of different platforms out there. You could still even say that Facebook is important, and Snapchat is actually becoming popular again in the United States. But I would say for the most money happens on the top three platforms of YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok at this point in terms of deals that influencers are doing. And there's a lot of reasons behind that. I think, in my opinion, and based on the data that I've seen, Instagram is still at the top, alongside YouTube. But TikTok is growing very quickly. TikTok keeps coming up with new ways to get people onto the platform and new ways to work with brands. So it's really interesting to see them fight with each other for supremacy.
Is it because is this let's say rise of the TikTok is this related to also to the new generation of users, because we have the Z generation and they are digital natives, always on, always connected. They consume different kind of formats of content.
Right.
They want different interaction. Do you feel? I mean, do you think that the rise of the TikTok is also related to the consumers, to the public, or mainly to the app in itself? I mean, the app
Yeah,
was beautifully crafted.
of course, that's a great question, and there's a really big difference that I can talk about. So if you think about, you're exactly right in how you frame the question. The rise of TikTok is largely due to a shift in trends, and with the new generation, the next generation, they want everything to be video content all the time. But the big difference is that on TikTok, the people who are using TikTok are consuming video content. There are a lot of people that are watching videos, not as many people that are creating videos, because it's very hard to create video content all the time for a normal person. I don't know if you sit down on your phone every day and you're always, sitting there making all the videos and talking to people, but it takes a lot of time and effort to create video all day long, right? So there are less people that are creating the content, a lot more people watching the content. On Instagram is different because Instagram was a photo sharing platform first. So me, even though I'm a little bit older, I can still go on to Instagram and share photos and kind of show people how my life is going over time. And 30 years from now, I will have like a scrapbook, or, all of my memories will be on Instagram, all of my photos, some videos, things like that. So for me as a user, it's a lot easier because I can very simply post a photo and just, live that memory or have that memory preserved. And that's the big difference, I think, between the two platforms, and the power they have is on Instagram, you have a lot of people using the app. using it to place photos, using it to make videos too, you know, do everything. And on TikTok again, it's more, you've got people, some people creating videos, a lot more people there to watch. So it's just two different types of consumers, users.
I want to ask you, because you said you are working with 100 influencers with your agency. I think there are big influencers and also small influencers, maybe.
Right.
Which is the minimum amount of followers for me,
Right.
let's say, to be considered an influencer in US?
In the United States, we have a new category called nano influencers. And nano influencers are usually a profile that has 5,000 or less followers. And then above that would be micro influencers. The difference is that a nano influencer is going to speak to a very small and specific audience. You could already probably think of somebody in your life that's a nano influencer. It could be the pastor at your church. If you go to church, the person, if they're sharing their sermon on social media just to the people that go to the church, they are a nano influencer already, right? So when you see small accounts, very small accounts, 5,000 and less, it is usually a person who's very connected to their community, and a lot of times in a real way. And it's just small. It's about conversation. The bigger you get, the harder it is to have conversations with more people. So then you start to share more just about, you know, ideas that I have that can affect a lot of people instead of a small group. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. I have to count. Maybe I'm a micro influencer in US, which is very, very good. But I can be a pastor, you know, to have my church someday, so I can be a
Right,
nano influencer.
right.
A interesting question I get from brands is what metrics should they get from the influencers in order to pick the right mix of
Right.
people, you know, endorsers?
Yeah, so there are, I would say there's 3 or 4 important metrics for brands, because brands are going to partner with influencers for 2 main reasons. One reason would be awareness, so that they can put their product in front of a lot of different people and just make sure that people know about their product. The second reason that brands want to partner with influencers is conversion. So they want to obviously see their product up there and then see somebody actually go and buy it on the website. But these are 2 different lines of thought. So when you're trying to pick the right influencer and you want to look at their data in order to make the decision of who's the best influencer to partner with, you're going to look at things like their engagement rate. And engagement rate is how many likes and comments they get on every post. The stronger their engagement rate, which is always shown as a percentage, so the higher the percentage, the more people from their community interact, like their content enough to hit the like button or to leave a comment. And that's really important, because that shows that there's a very good back and forth, a very good relationship between the influencer and their community members. So that's number 1, is engagement. Number 2 is going to be what their reach is. So if somebody has 100,000 followers on Instagram, we want to see that they have a reach when they put a post out, that the reach of the post, how many people will see the post, is very high. You know, at least 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 followers should see that post every time they post. So you want to, of course, look at their reach, examine their reach. And then beyond that, for brands, you're going to want to actually see what kind of conversion they get, or what kind of link clicks they get. So a lot of times on Instagram, especially, we use Instagram stories, and you can swipe up to go to the website. So influencers can show you, okay, every time I do a story, an Instagram story, I'm getting 100 swipes or link clicks. I'm getting 200, I'm getting 1,000. You know, the higher that number is, that means that the influencer is really good at convincing people not only to watch their content, but to click or swipe and go and buy the product. So engagement, reach, and conversion, or link clicks.
And for micro influencers and the nano influencers, which one is the most important? Engagement, reach, or conversion? Which one do you think?
Ooh, that's a tough question because when you're a micro influencers tend to have high engagement. They may have 10%, 20% engagement. A lot more people are liking and commenting on their content. They usually have pretty high conversion too. You know, I would say that when we look at micro influencers, they have high conversion and high engagement. The difference between a micro influencer and a bigger influencer, like a middle tier influencer who has 100,000 followers or more, is that if you're going to run a campaign with micro influencers, you need a lot more since they have less following. So if I'm going to use micro influencers, I might have to go and find 5 micro influencers to equal 1 bigger influencer. So it's different tactics depending on what the brand wants to achieve.
A lot of brands are working with influencers right now all over the world, and in Romania and Eastern Europe too. But sometimes, I mean, and everyone seems to know basically everything about influencer marketing. But sometimes they overlook a must, something they must know, something they must underline or do in an influencer campaign. Do you have any specific recommendation for our audience today?
Yeah,
What
absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No. It's okay. It's okay.
Okay. I was just going to say the one thing that we see brands here in the United States miss, all the time, the one thing that they should not miss is just that they will tend to look at influencers based only on their engagement. And the reason why that is a problem is because, people can have lots of engagement. They can be getting lots of likes, lots of comments, but they might not be the best fit for the brand. So it's like when brands search for influencers here in the United States, let's say they look for a talent that have 3% engagement or 4% engagement. They get like a little pool of influencers and they say, hey, I want these 5 people on my campaign. You need to look deeply at each individual. You need to make sure that they absolutely align with your brand values. Are they saying crazy things? Are they too political? Are they practicing witchcraft and that doesn't work for you? It's like a lot of times brands will skip just looking more about who the person is. So I think that looking at the data is really important. But with influencers, you also have to make sure that the individual represents you in the best way before saying, okay, I'm going to give them money or I'm going to give them my product to make content with.
Another question I got from brands is, do I need a big budget for influencer marketing? Or maybe always, do I need a big budget? Or there are some cases in which you can just give away some samples or some products or something like that?
I believe that influencer marketing is the most cost-effective form of marketing today, one of the most cost-effective forms of marketing. So if a brand is used to making TV commercials or they're used to buying ads in a magazine, influencer marketing is actually less expensive and more effective than placing an ad in a magazine or making a TV commercial. You get a lot more for less money. Now, do you need a big budget? No. What each brand has to decide is, they have to look at their marketing budget to see how much they can afford to spend on influencers, because a lot of influencers charge for their services today. But also a brand needs to understand how much of their products can they give away, which is also that's a different budget, but it is still, really, really important to know, okay, if I'm going to do a campaign for phones, how many phones can I afford to give away, right? And maybe that's the only thing I need to give an influencer. A lot of times we do something called gifting or seeding, where the influencers just get the product for free. But I have to know how many of these products can I afford to give away? And then what am I expecting in return? So if I'm going to give 20 phones away, I want to make sure that every influencer who accepts the product is going to do exactly XYZ types of content. They're going to make 2 TikTok videos and 3 Instagram posts or something like that. You have to figure out what the exchange is that's going to help you reach the goals that you want to reach.
So we are talking about the if we need a big budget and if there are other forms of compensation, and you are giving the giveaway, the phone giveaway example.
Right. Yeah.
What makes a successful influencer campaign? What do you think? It's the magic, the magic around an influencer
Right.
campaign.
This actually is really related to a question that you already asked me in terms of something that brands miss, like what do they do wrong, or, like what do they need to make sure they don't forget? What makes a successful influencer marketing campaign is actually just that the goals were achieved. And the reason it's related to your previous question is because a lot of times brands forget to set goals. They don't think about what do they actually want to achieve. They just want to try influencer marketing with no real, like they don't think of the actual percentage of sales they want to see, or how many shares, or how many posts, or how many likes. They don't think about the goals. So in my opinion, a successful marketing campaign with influencers could mean lots of clicks to the website, lots of website traffic, maybe lots of sales too. But for a different brand, it may just mean that thousands of people saw the post, thousands of people saw the brand. It could be either one. It doesn't have to be sales, and it doesn't have to be awareness. It could be both. And that's what's great about influencer marketing, is that you can actually do all the different types of, you can reach all the different types of goals using different, methodology, different strategy, but you can do it all through influencers. So the most successful campaign to me is just the one that meets the goals.
Can you name some examples from your agency? I mean, some campaigns you really like, or made a difference, let's say, in this
Yeah,
influencer
absolutely.
marketing arena?
For sure. So two of them that I can mention that are different real quick. One of them, our talent, her name's Rachel Burgess Music. She did a campaign with an exercise bike earlier this year. So the influencer is a home influencer, and she shows her family. So it's a mom, and she has 3 kids. So it's mostly about her family life. So she took pictures with the exercise bike. She shared her journey of exercise on Instagram, and she sold over 20 exercise bikes, which were, I think, an average of $2,000 per bike. So she made the company a lot of money, a lot of sales of a high priced item, which is great. So that's one example of great influencer marketing. Another example is we have an influencer named Stephanie Hjelmeseth, and her handle is just Steph Hjelmeseth. She works with high-end luxury brands, and this summer she worked with Chanel. Chanel sent her all of their summer haute couture looks, so their runway looks, and she was able to shoot them at home in Los Angeles, and it was wildly successful. Chanel shared all of her images. So for them, it was a very successful campaign because they found the right woman who is an everyday woman who could wear Chanel's clothes and make it look like it came from the runway, at home. So those are just two examples of very different goals.
Let me ask you something, because you work with influencers and you meet them maybe every day. Many people have misconceptions about their way of style of living, the glamorous living. And
Right.
is it always so glam as we see in Instagram posts or stories, or is more work than we see
Yeah, absolutely.
behind this old picture, all of these pictures?
Yeah, I think that what people miss out, what they're not seeing, is what happens behind the scenes, right? When you think of somebody who is, if we are talking about, a famous designer like Yves Saint Laurent or Karl Lagerfeld or any of the designers of today, you see the glamorous end result of their work. You'll see the beautiful dress that they make. Or if you like cars, you may see somebody's final car that they built themselves or restored, an antique vintage car. You don't see the work, you see the end product, how beautiful the dress is, how wonderfully they restored the car. But it takes a lot of work behind the scenes in order to make those things happen. That's the same with influencers. Influencers today do all the work themselves. They may get the product in the mail, but they have to actually design the campaign. They have to write out scripts, so they're doing a lot of writing. They have to set up the photo shoots, which takes time to figure out, okay, where does this product make sense? How am I going to show it to my audience? So they have to act out and kind of create the whole scene, which they may need to buy props for. And then after they've done the full photo shoot or video shoot, then they have to do all the editing. And editing takes a lot of skill, in a sense, to make a perfect photo or a perfect video. So there's just so much work, hours and hours of work that happen after somebody, gets the product in hand, in order to be able to show it to their community in the right way. And people don't see that. They see, the nice dress or the whatever it may be. They see the nice item that the influencer might be holding, but they don't think about all the work it took to create the advertisement or create the story.
Yeah, right. Let me ask you one big question, because you have plenty experience in influencer marketing, in working with influencers and brands. What's the most interesting thing you've learned so far in this glamorous field of influencer marketing?
Yeah, absolutely. I could think about that question in two ways. One way, like personally, one thing personally that I learned was, I know I've brought up Chanel a few times. When I started in influencer marketing a few years ago, Chanel actually flew me and my wife to the south of France, and we got to go with them to their flower fields where they pick flowers for their famous fragrance, Chanel No. 5. So personally, one of the most interesting things that I've learned is just getting to go behind the scenes and see something like where they pick flowers and how they make flowers into perfume, for such an iconic brand. If you're asking me what I've learned about influencer marketing and why, what's so interesting about influencer marketing, I think the biggest thing I've learned in the last, 6 or 7 years is that we as a society, and this is global, everyone all over the world, we crave stories. We want stories. Like, when you think about how we used to be before influencers came around, the people with the best stories would be at the top. If you're the best storyteller, you would be, the biggest star in Hollywood, or you may be the CEO of a company because you're really good at telling stories, and explaining the value of things. You'd be the top scientist, right? Because you are the best at explaining how black holes work, right? So we love and we value, as humankind, we value stories. Influencers make it so that everybody can be a part of storytelling. Every single human on the planet can tell their own story. They don't have to be the best and biggest to get a community of people to grow around them. And that's a really incredible shift, giving the power to the people to tell their stories and to share their stories with so many others globally. And I think that's a really incredible thing. I think it's a beautiful thing for the future of, where humanity is going to go, by allowing individuals, I'm not famous. I'm nobody, particularly special. I do something cool, but I love that I can share that with a small group of people that want to know what I'm doing, and really get to know me more. So that, I think, is the most interesting thing I've learned over the past few years.
Thank you for sharing with us this insight. And I have one last question, because the time is running very fast everywhere in the world these days, and particularly in our conference today. Where do you see influencer marketing in 10 years from now?
In 10 years, I honestly believe that almost everybody will be an influencer of some sort. And I think that a lot of people will have fun with that. There'll be a lot of interesting things that happen with it. We're all going to be telling our stories in different ways, and brands are going to want to partner with, just regular people all of the time. And I think that in the future, we're going to see a lot more of an economy driven off of influence, where if I get spaghetti, if Prego or, a spaghetti company sends me spaghetti, I can feed my family. And then I can share with you on Instagram my favorite spaghetti. And it just becomes like this cyclical relationship between brands who create products and us normal people, sort of normalish people, who like to share the story and like to, share with people what they love. So in the future, it'll be interesting because almost every person on the planet could be an influencer. if
Yeah,
they
we'll
choose.
see. We'll be here for the new trend where everybody will be an influencer. But I think we still, we already are influencers, for our friends,
Yes.
family and close contacts on every platform, social media platform we are present right now. So we will see in the future how it's going to be, and maybe everyone will sell something at some point. It will be the new e-commerce, the personal commerce or something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of like a
Thank you.
personal.
Yeah, everything will be personal and in the e-commerce, maybe. Kyle, thank you very much for being with us today one more time, and good luck with all your projects. I know you plan a lot of interesting things for this fall and for the year, for the next year. So great talk today with you, and hopefully we will meet again, and someday maybe in person after this
I hope so.
situation will be over. Thank you very much
Yeah,
one more
absolutely.
time.
Thank you, Christian. Thank you, Influencer Marketing Conference. I invite everybody to connect with me, and I hope to, very much keep in touch with you.